Okay, hello and welcome to another Q&A. This seems like an eternity ago that we used to do this Q&A, and I'm really happy to be able to bring this back. I took a small break, just wanted to give myself a digital detox of some kind because the amount of content production was getting a little overwhelming. I'm only human, but here we are. And hopefully this will continue for a long while. And instead of keeping this Q&A session on a weekly basis, we'll try and see how it goes from the initial video that happens, that is of this one. And basis that, we'll keep it once in 2 weeks or once in a month. It'll be interesting. And also, I have a small surprise for you all at the end. The most interesting question gets a small giveaway. So at the end of this video, I'll pick that winner. It'll be a random one. I haven't chosen or I haven't read the messages. I've just selected them. I'll ask you to get in touch with me on Instagram. Just watch towards the end of this video and we'll take it from there. Let's begin. The first question. Which engine oil is better for J-series engines, Motul 500 or the liquid gun? The recommended grade, engine oil grade, is about 15W50 if I'm not mistaken. That is a pretty good option. But if you do want to experiment, you can go one grade higher and that will help you run the bike a little bit cooler than the actual performance numbers. Also, not make you compromise on the mileage aspect of it. And you are most welcome to do this if you are in Rajasthan or northern India where the temperatures soar like crazy. Keep that in mind. Next one. Have you done any water crossing? Yes. Have you not seen my Spiti series, which I did about 2021, I think 2022? I'll leave the link right here to watch that. If yes, how do you balance the bike and the luggage behind you? The trick is let go of the clutch, let go of the luggage, let go of the clutch and just go full on the throttle. Dump the clutch, full throttle. What happens is the front will straighten itself out because it's getting constant power from the rear and you'll just find yourself way. The number one thing that you should keep in mind is if you are wearing proper gear, proper waterproof shoes and all, just walk the water crossing and see how deep it is. Unless it's a river, it's really deep, don't do that. But by doing this, you get a little bit of confidence and you actually determine the line which you are going to take. I hope this helps. Next one. You're a Tamilian, that's my guess. Would you prefer going to Ladakh on Interceptor? It would be great if you made a Ladakh guide video. Ladakh guide video as to what? How to pack for Ladakh, how to go to Ladakh. Because I did shoot a lot of videos last year when I went to Ladakh on Himalayan. I went to Spiti on Interceptor. It's equally fun. But after that, I had a small injury and I just took everything on the back seat. I was more focused on creating daily content and as a result, the Ladakh series was put on indefinite hold. I'm still trying to figure out the story of it and I do have made the guide on how to pack and tie the luggage on your Himalayan if you're going for a 12-day Ladakh trip. Do watch that. I'll leave that link of that video right here. Thank you so much. Next one. Why choose Himalayan over KTM ADV 390 and BMW 450 GS? Decent question. Number one, service network. RE is unmatched in its service network. You get service centers pretty much everywhere. The parts availability is bang on. They are cheap. So is KTM. It's manufactured by Bajaj now. But still, I wanted reliability. That's why I chose Himalayan. And not F450 GS because you have to understand that the expense do not end when you buy the motorcycle. It only starts from there. The annual maintenance cost, the service, the time taken for the technician to work on your bike. All of these factors just keep on adding up. Plus, it's a BMW brand, it's a premium brand, so you will be dishing out money quicker than you can exhale carbon dioxide. That's why I chose Himalayan. Next one. Hey Shri, the OEM rally seat you installed, is it really comfortable for solo? Yes, it is. I have gotten used to this rally seat. This is about 860 millimeters tall. You do get a touring seat also in this, which is the same as the OEM seat, 825 to 845, but it's a little bit scooped out. So your family jewels are always in the middle of the way, in the middle. So I did not want to do that. This gives you a much more flexibility of repositioning yourself. Look. And I did that with my right leg. Ha! This gives you the flexibility of repositioning yourself wherever you want, as and when you want. So it's pretty good in my opinion. Yes, it is very comfortable for solo. Thank you so much for asking this question. Moving on. Hey Srini, I don't see any oil in the front brake container on my Bear 650, which I bought a year and a half ago. And there is minimum brake oil at the back. So now should I flush out the old oil completely and change it, or just the top up is enough? Yes, it's ideal if you are flushing it, if you are inspecting your gear oil, if you're inspecting your brake oil after a year and a half or 2 years, there is a small instrument that comes that determines how contaminated your brake oil is, brake fluid is. So use that also. Plus, it's a general practice once in 2 years, just flush out the entire brake oil and put new ones in. You're good to go. Good question, by the way. Next one. What are your views about the upcoming 750 RE and 490 KTM? They look pretty good. That's about it. A lot of people have pointed out their views that the 750 RE is more oriented towards the touring aspect of it because it gets 19 and 17 as opposed to 21 and 17. I don't know. It'll be pretty interesting. They have finally given adjustable front suspensions, which only 2% of the entire riding community people will explore. Rest of the people will not be even bothered by it. They just want to experience the rideability factor of it. And KTM 490, I think you're referring to the parallel twins that the KTM will be coming out with pretty soon. I don't know. I'll reserve my comments up until I take a test drive. It looks pretty good though. That's what. Next, Sri, what is the payload capacity and curb weight and how does it works? Okay, the curb weight is the motorcycle's weight of everything combined. The fuel tank, the fuel inside the fuel tank, all the fluids, the engine oil, the brake oil and everything else put together, that comes out to a number that is called the curb weight. That's 196 kilos for the Himalayan 450. The payload capacity is how much the bike's geometry and the bike's chassis can take without braking. For example, if you have a Himalayan 450 ready at hand, you can check this. If you don't have a top rack installed, the plastic top rack will say 7 kilos maximum weight. If you exceed that amount of weight, this thing will crack and break under pressure because it is designed to withhold only 7 kilos and not exceed that. Not even 7 kilos, a little bit lower than that only. That's what it is. I hope this helps. Decent question. I appreciate it. Okay, next one. What brand of TPMS to install on a tube tire for RE Himalayan 450? TPMS, I believe you're referring to a tire pressure monitoring system. I haven't installed any because you have to understand, this is just my personal opinion. I'm not enforcing my opinion on you. By the way, the short answer is I don't know. I haven't researched on that, nor do I have the need to do that. But in order for you to do that, you have to understand there is another parameter for you to check with all the gizmos that goes around. There is the fuel level, the range, the Bluetooth, the trip A, trip B, the ABS on or off, then again the TPMS thing. This is way too much. I mean, if I feel that the bike is not riding properly, we as humans have been designed with a very amazing measuring system. That is, if I don't feel the bike is behaving normally, I'll check it. I have a tire inflator with me and it's just 1 second job and then pull it back together and then off I go. I don't have to constantly worry about, oh, it's just getting lower, I need to do something about it. That parameter should not be there. I should be focused on the ride. That's my opinion of it. I hope this helps. Next one. Is your leg guard from RE or aftermarket? Same question for your top rack and saddle stay. This is genuine RE product. This is also genuine RE product. Saddle stays. Although I was under the impression that the dirt tag bags that I have would be easily installed on the saddle stays. However, I was not able to figure that out. So these are just here. I'm planning to remove these once I make a video of how to pack for 7-day trip for your Spiti journey. This is also OEM. Pretty sturdy, very good, and really helps if you are tying some bungee cords to it. I don't have a leg guard on my Himalayan, nothing. I have purchased a bash plate and engine guard, but I haven't installed it yet. I hope this helps. Next one. Tell us about how you got back to riding after facing the ACL injury and in what manner, because I'm going through the same. Oh no. It's been 4 months post-surgery for me. I'm planning to buy Himalayan in a couple of months. Dude, forget about the bike. Focus on recovery. Okay. Number one, okay, I need to come in front of the camera. Am I positioned correctly? Yes, I am. Dude, number one thing, it's been 4 months for your surgery. Yes. Focus on flexing and extending your leg. Because if you don't, the muscles here will get stiff and it'll only frustrate you more and more. What I did was, I'll show you with my left leg. I didn't used to ride, but I used to crawl my way down to the parking lot and just practice on the rear foot peg. That extends. And you have to get used to this position also. So what I used to do was lift the ankle up slowly and down. This used to stimulate the muscles here. And then of course the physiotherapy exercises that you're doing and you are going. I'm hoping that you continue your physiotherapy even 8 weeks after the surgery or 4 months after the surgery as well. Do not leave the physiotherapy aspect of it. It is very, very important that you go to a sports physiotherapy. Don't think about riding for now. Just focus on extension and flexion and distract your mind. Read books, watch movies. If you're a content creator, just start creating content. Do not think that, oh my god, क्या हो गया मेरे साथ ये, मैं अपाहिज हो गया हूँ. ऐसा नहीं है. मत सोचो ऐसे. And don't sell yourself short. It's fine. People have accidents all the time. Just, it's about how you deal with it. Just have a positive attitude. Watch a lot of videos. Educate yourself on ACL rehab, and hopefully this helps. Sorry, I used the word apahij. I didn't mean that in any offensive way. But crippled, that means. But still, don't think that you are not capable of anything. Don't sell yourself short. Be positive. Next one. I wanted an interceptor for a long time. With current prices, a new one is out of reach. So now, how good of an idea is buying a huge interceptor Continental GT amidst the growing E20, E30 concerns? Don't be worried about E20 and E30. I say go for it. Go for a second-hand Interceptor 650 or a GT 650. Just enjoy it. Use a fuel system cleaner once every month or once every 2 months. You're good to go. At least you'll be able to enjoy your dream bike as and when you want it and not be constantly worried about as to what can happen if I do this and if I do that, not do that. Live the reality, my friend. Go for it. Next one. Hi Sri, lots and love and health to your ACL. I have 2 questions. I bought the Interceptor 650 on 2020, 6,500 kilometers. Since then, I have not changed the fork oil of suspension and throttle body cleaning. Should I get it done after monsoon season? You can get it done after monsoon season also, but it doesn't matter. The quicker you get it done, the better it is because the water is not going to seep in. So that's just one thing you're prolonging. Get the fork oils changed. For sure, get them changed. My general rule of thumb is get fork oils changed once every 2 years. This is part of maintaining your motorcycle. Do not ignore them. This is a very important part of your comfort factor during your rides. And get the throttle bodies cleaned once every 8,000, 10,000 kilometers. That should be good. Don't do it regular. Like, don't do it once every 2,000 kilometers. Don't do that. Once every 10,000, once every 8,000 is good enough. You'll see the response enough for you. All right. Next one is a long one. I'll summarize this. I don't want to waste everybody's time by reading this question. It's a pretty long one. The gentleman is asking if the vibration on Himalayan 450 is of grave concern while cruising around 100 to 110 for long hours, and can it cause hand numbness? And currently he rides a 2013 Apache 160, have completed trips to Koli Hills, Chikmagalur, Ooty, beautiful places by the way. How much of an improvement can he expect when he is upgraded to Himalayan 450 or KTM Adventure 350? With all the motorcycle, vibration is a part of it. For example, your fridge, your refrigerator, it will get hot from the outside. There's nothing that you can do about it. Your ceiling fan will get hot if you touch it. Nothing you can do about it. Bikes will vibrate. It's a single cylinder engine, and yes, you can do something about it. That is, wear proper gears. There's not a proper gear, by the way. Wear proper ADV boots, touring boots, wear gloves, have grips installed on your handlebars, and you're good to go. You have to understand the vibration is a part of it. You don't choose to focus on the negative part of it. You choose to focus on the positive part of it. I'm not selling you Himalayan 450, by the way. KTM is equally vibey, and it's a high revving engine, which means you have to keep the bike over 4,000 RPM, 5,000 RPM at all times. That's when it performs the best. I've ridden it in Himalayas. I've ridden it in Ladakh. It is a fantastic engine. Vibrations are a part of it. It shouldn't really matter. It's not a deal breaker in my opinion. Get multiple test drives, and hey, instead of getting a test drive, find that friend in your friend list or Instagram. Just ask them if you can borrow their motorcycle for 1 or 2 days and just go for a 70-80 kilometer drive. test the motorcycle in every condition, and that should tell you everything about the bike that you want to know. The bike will vibrate at 100 and 110 kilometers. That's a given. It doesn't vibrate before 80, 90 kilometers, and it doesn't vibrate after you cross 120 kilometers per hour. And it only vibrates in the sweet spot, that is 90 to 120. That's just the part of it. You can cruise on it, just be well equipped to deal with the vibrations. And no, it doesn't cause numbness. I have ridden this bike for 20,000 kilometers. It doesn't do that. Don't believe the negative things that people say. See for yourself. Test drive. Next one. Is crash guard useful for interceptor? Maybe this B-roll will help. During this B-roll, I had the smaller engine guard, the compact engine guard on my interceptor. And now I have the larger one. Did it help? The compact engine guard helped only the engine, not my leg. And I was in quite a pain. Quite a serious amount of pain. Nothing broke, thankfully, but still, get a leg guard, proper leg guard. It helps. And that's about it for the Q&A. All right, for the small reveal towards the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching up until here. I'm doing a small giveaway in this Q&A and in probably every Q&A that will come after this one. It's a small giveaway. I'm giving away my own t-shirts. This is my merch store, a t-shirt from my merch store, and I'm really excited to be able to do this. I'll be creating new ideas and new designs and new t-shirts as well. Polly1492, please reach out to me on Instagram and we'll take it from there. And if you want this t-shirt, if you want any t-shirts from my merch store, you can go to srinivasganesh.com and just choose the best one that you have. Also, feel free to comment your suggestions. If you want me to make any particular design or something, I do draw as well. And yeah, thank you so much. This video will be out on Sunday. Thank you so much for taking actively part in this Q&A series. Sorry I kept you waiting. And yes, we are back. Hopefully, people will like this Q&A video and would want to watch it even more. If you are a new viewer, consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to suggest whatever you feel like. I read and respond to all. Rest of you who've asked your questions, don't worry, I'll personally answer all of your questions by this night. Thank you so much. Shri out. Peace. Chalo!